attacking settlements, fighting enemy armies to the death, taking on an Endgame Crisis, and becoming unkillable. Usually when you play Total War Warhammer 3, you need to recruit a bunch of units, research a couple of decks, and build some buildings in your settlements to improve your unit roster to do any of this. Right? Well, with Arbaal the Undefeated, I won't need to. Instead, we will be raising legions of blood hosts, and power leveling him into a walking war crime. I won't be recruiting any units, only using heroes in his army from start to finish. Thanks to the Khorne's blood host mechanic, every city we destroy spawns a fresh army completely free. We will use these hosts to do the dirty work, while Arbaal focuses on becoming unkillable. Our goal? To take on and beat an Endgame Crisis, using nothing but free blood hosts, and make Arbaal a one-man doom stack. But we'll get to that. For now, let's begin. Our first enemy is this ogre faction, and usually you would begin fighting this army here, but I needed my first blood host ASAP, so I went around them, making my way up to the first settlement. Usually you would need to fight it a tough battle, but with only a level 1 hero and Arbaal who is also level 1, I need every ounce of battle knowledge, tactics, and raw skill. Oh, auto-resolve victory. Okay, cool. We did lose our hero in this attack, but later we would be able to just recruit another hero back, so it wasn't really much of a loss. This spawned a fairly decent blood host to begin with, so I moved Arbaal forward and recruited another lord. When you win a battle as any Khorne faction, you have some additional options when choosing what to do with the settlement. You can sack it for a bit of gold. You can occupy it for 2,500 skulls. You can pledge the skulls to the skull throne, which is one of the easiest ways to get more skulls. Or you can summon an army from nothing. And let me tell you, this gets very overpowered later, especially when you can upgrade these armies with damage reduction, make them deal extra damage, and even guarantee that bloodthirsters spawn in these armies. You know, those big guys. Now this first blood host spawned with 1 extra unit of exalted blood reapers, 4 normal blood reapers, 2 blood shrines, these weak ass bats, and some Khorne doggos. We couldn't quite make it the whole way over to the other settlement, so we fought these encamped ogres, thinking we needed to keep our bloodletting high. Well, another of the Khorne faction features, but I realised later that this tactic doesn't really benefit from having high bloodletting. We got this pretty new axe and selected to get extra skulls as a reward before moving closer to the next settlement. To continue on our campaign, I attacked and manually fought the battle against the capital of the province, ourselves bringing us into the first siege of the campaign. I began trying to spread my forces out. This would help spread the enemy's focus so they just wouldn't group all of their forces on one side, and it worked. Our blood reapers claimed the walls, blood shrine capturing the victory points in the background. Spreading the enemy forces out like that worked very well, as I grouped up my forces, allowing my units to take on 1 unit at a time. Not too long later, the ogre surrendered. I decided to recover some of the HP lost in the battle before repeating the attack with Arbaal in the next turn. Before manually fighting this second battle, I decided to use our skulls for the skull throne for the first time. The skull throne provides some very powerful buffs, from army replenishment, summoning extra units, even healing your lord's army to full HP or recharging his movement speed. But for now, we decided to use the Blood Ex Nihilo, which adds 2 additional units to the next blood host spawned. Attacking the settlement once again, which was now weakened, we quickly won the battle, pledging blood for the blood god, spawning another blood host, meaning we had 2 extra units in this blood host, which will be crucial to the battles ahead. This new blood host spawned from raising the settlement was quite powerful, with a bunch of extra dogs, blood reapers, and this time we were lucky and got our first bloodthirster. After this, we encircled the last ogre settlement in the area, which after a few turns causing attrition, time for galaxy brain tactics. Blobbing. That's right, I threw everything into one chaotic pile and prayed to Khorne. It worked, and let me tell you, it did. After some time we had won the battle, and this is where I made my first real mistake. I had been taking for granted the amount of skulls that we had, so I decided to sack the settlement to get some extra healing and money. The very next turn, after I auto-resolved this battle, I didn't actually have enough skulls this time to get another army, and now I had already sacked the settlement, meaning we would only get 80 skulls from raising it. In the moment, I didn't actually realise my mistake, so after pushing east to take on this Northskin faction, I made the same mistake again, taking the money and healing over the skulls. Again, over the turn, I attacked the settlement once again, this time getting another blood host for my spoils. Continuing to move through this Northskin faction's land with the 3 blood hosts we had, learning from our mistakes and opting to take skulls whenever I could. We quickly completed the 2 battles still needed to unlock tier 3 technologies, the second of which was a lucky bait with the enemy AI underestimating our unit's ability. Seriously, why fight me here out in the open? AI confidence is wild sometimes, but hey, I'll take the free win. After winning with a Pyrrhic victory, I decided to devour the captives, thinking it would actually give our blood host some health back, but I'm not quite sure that it worked. The auto-resolve at this point didn't seem to understand just how strong our forces were, as one moment we were winning a battle I don't think I could have even won myself, and the next we would lose a ton of units attacking this settlement that I easily win with a decisive victory. That's not to say I wouldn't lose some units, however. At this point, I split my forces into 2 as we move through this Northskin faction's land, with Arbaal and 1 blood host moving southwest towards Kislev, attacking and destroying the settlement, selecting skulls as a reward. At the same time, our other 3 blood hosts and our second lord headed along the western shore, which we once again grabbed more skulls as our reward for destroying another settlement. After taking both these, I brought all my forces together to take Volsgrad, the capital of this province, and after auto-resolving a victory, I decided to sack it as I needed my next blood host to be as strong as possible. So I activated the Blood Ex Nihilo once again. This time I decided I would fight the battle manually, as if I didn't, I'd actually lose a full blood host army, which was undesirable. Even the lords can actually have quite a decent effect, especially when you don't have money to work with. Initiating the attack with Arbaal alone, I utilised his most powerful ability, Fury of the Blood God, which is a mini detonation around himself that causes a hell of a lot of damage. Slowly, Arbaal and some of the reinforcing armies killed off the last of the Northskin forces, eventually resulting in our victory. As a reward for our victory, I summoned another Bloodhost army, which only had a whole lot of shite, to be honest. I continued attacking everything in front of Arbaal, trying to level him up as much as possible, with our next target being Throt the Unclean and Clan Mulder. Unfortunately, I had moved some of our forces near Prague, not knowing the immediate threat inside the city, so over the end turn, Throt himself attacked us, and we lost the armies. So I brought all my forces together to try and take him on, but he ran away. Despite running away, over the next turn, Throt decided to attack my armies once again, but this time we would actually be able to pull out a Pyrrhic victory, only losing one of my bloodhosts. I'm not really sure why he did this. Moving on, Prague next, we battled for the settlement, and now that Arbaal had his mount, the demonic Khorne doggo, he was able to zip from unit to unit, using the Fury of the Blood God to kill as many Skaven as possible, waiting for as many Skaven to gather around Arbaal before activating it. Repeating this until we had killed a whole lot of rats. Finally, I made my way to the key capture points to try and draw the last of the Skaven into one position to finish them off, winning the battle without actually using any other forces. Winning this battle, I once again spawned in a new blood host. Now, if you're thinking, well, this is too easy so far, I was thinking the same. And just to sway any doubts, I am playing on legendary difficulty. That's why when I set the game up, I actually also activated the endgame scenario, the Biggest Waaagh. meaning at some point during all this, a host of orcs will show up and take over. Well, that was now. And how will I deal with this, I hear you ask? I ran far away, taking on some Norskins on the way in hopes to get some more skulls, but that didn't exactly work. One gun, really? Continuing our expeditious retreat back into the northern wastes, we declared war on these dwarves, on who I utilised one of Arbaal's newest abilities to beat. 50% cooldown reduction to Fury of the Gods, and 15% physical resistance, meaning we could now make twice the amount of booms happen and take less damage while doing so. In the meantime, our forces continued to overwhelm the dwarves, and we quickly won the battle, taking some extra skulls as our reward. We continued to head into the northern Chaos Wastes, and found ourselves in a war with the Demon Prince himself. Beginning attacking this settlement with one lord, this would be a fairly decent test for our army. Oh, is that Arbaal running it alone? Oh, okay, never mind. Arbaal, you do what you want. In the meantime, as Arbaal went to town killing as many units as possible, the rest of our army began to fight those who didn't focus on Arbaal, meaning the enemy force's attention was divided. So I utilised Arbaal's speed to race him back into the battle, allowing our forces to overwhelm the enemy in no time at all. At this point, the AI settlements were beginning to grow in size, and soon enough we would unlock techs that would increase the amount of skulls obtained, meaning that these 4,800 skulls, which is quite a decent amount to be honest, was only going to become more common and greater amounts. Continuing to storm through the Demon Prince's territory, either taking skulls or spawning new blood hosts. When one of our existing ones were weakened, we were quickly closing in on the Dark Elves, who I immediately attacked. I wanted to secure another settlement, as the factions near our starting location were beginning to close in on us, all those that we'd been fighting with, sometimes attacking our settlements. So I decided to try and take the Forest of Decay. At this point, Arbaal was strong, but I didn't realise just how strong he was. So instead of sending him in head on and allowing him to kill everything, I brought in my reinforcements and just sat them there out of reach, without orders, in hopes to try and draw the enemy's attention, while Arbaal captured the key points, and in no time at all, we had secured the city. Occupying the city, the Dark Elves and their lord Neheth decided to try and take it back, over the end turn. This was when I first used Arbaal to his fullest potential. To begin, I sent him to engage and kill the enemy lord, and I'm convinced he one or two shot their lord, as while micromanaging the rest of my army, only a minute and a half into the battle, Neheth was dead. So, using his Fury of the Blood God ability to decimate the enemy forces before taking half of an enemy hero's health in one hit, I turned my attention back to our capturing points, as the enemy had broken through the castle gates, and were trying to win the battle that way. Sending Arbaal to deal with these Medusas, we would retake the capture point each time the enemy would capture it, as we slowly began to whittle down the last of the enemy units. Luckily, Arbaal and his mount were quite fast, and we had a lot of missile resistance, allowing us to kill all of these stalking archers, who probably would have won the battle for the Dark Elves if not. Just after this, we would win the battle, losing one of our lords in the fight. Over the end turn, while chasing the Dark Elves, I ran into the dwarves again, this time with what I assume is a very strong army. So, with all the enemies around, I utilised Arbaal's Challengers of Khorne ability to teleport to the other side of the world, and try and complete my first challenge, fighting this Slaanesh faction. To begin, I wanted to get another army to back up Arbaal, a blood host, so I attacked a nearby settlement belonging to the same faction I had the challenge against. I fought this battle manually as it was against fairly weak units. Selecting Blood for the Blood God, we had the blood host needed to guarantee a win against this Slaanesh faction. At this point, the blood host armies were fairly strong, with all exalted blood reapers, and soon local army buffs to armor and attack damage. Over the end turn, the army I needed to beat for the challenge moved out from their settlement, and I was able to get this auto-resolve victory without losing too many units, meaning we had completed our first challenge of Khorne. After this, we finished researching one of the strongest techs in the game, giving every unit in every army, including our blood hosts, a free 10% extra armor and 10% melee defense. I still needed to complete the techs that add bloodthirsters and soul grinders to our blood hosts, so I focused that next. After a few more battles, our crusade through the southern wastes was going well, with our blood hosts managing alone, so I used the challenges of Khorne to get myself into the heart of the mountains of East Sylvania, targeting Clan Angorund. But as I arrived, the orcs were going crazy, Waaagh in full swing, so I decided best not to fight the dwarves just yet. It was around this time when we finally completed the Gates of Wrath tech, meaning every blood host we now spawned will have a soul grinder and a bloodthirster. With our blood hosts nearing full strength, I wanted to focus back on Arbaal and officially make him unkillable. This meant researching the Blood Feast banner that provides regeneration, obtaining a Sword of Cain recently claimed by the Dark Elves to the west, and finally getting my hands on the Nemesis Crown. These two items will make every faction in the game hate us, but they are needed to make Arbaal a one-man doomstack. With goals in mind, I found myself teleporting to Albion, just north of Ulthuan, to complete another challenge of Khorne. This Norskin faction had a legendary challenge, but before I could take it on, I needed blood hosts. There's one, and two. These blood hosts allowed me to auto-resolve a legendary challenge of Khorne. After this, I took the Isle of Rights, getting another blood host before turning my attention to Ulthuan directly, crossing the ocean and landing on the northeast of the island. To begin by taking a settlement, and it was around this time that we had completed researching the Blood Feast banner. Equipping it to Arbaal and using it on him, we would now be able to recover health during a fight, and stack enough damage resistance on top of this, and we would basically become unkillable, given how much weapon strength we would be able to stack too. Testing it out on the very next settlement, we were able to get 862 kills, dealing 69,000 damage. Nice. We actually healed up during this fight, going into it with less health than coming out. Continuing through Ulthuan, we took city after city, with my eyes set on the marker on the map, showing us where the wielder of the Sword of Cain was. At this point, Arbaal was very strong. So strong, I didn't actually need any additional forces to win these settlement battles, sending him in alone, spamming Fury of the Blood God on cooldown to decimate their forces as they grouped up around us, taking out multiple units at a time, and healing to full while doing so. Spawning in the last blood host that we would be able to get before what is surprisingly not the toughest battle in this video, we finally came face to face with the Dark Elf faction wielding the Sword of Cain. Interestingly, they too were at war with the High Elves, so I decided to make a Giga Brain move here, fighting a battle where the allies would be that Dark Elf faction. What makes this a smart move? Well, I sat AFK allowing the Dark Elves to win the battle for me and taking some casualties in the process, weakening some of their units in their army. Moving all our remaining forces in, multiple blood hosts coming face to face with the Dark Elves in a battle that will be remembered for the age. Shortly after liberating the Sword of Cain, the Nemesis Crown changed hands, and I was fortunate as not long before this we were issued a new challenge of Khorne to eliminate one of the armies in this faction. But again, we had to get some more units to help out, so we began by attacking the orc factions in this area, taking on the settlements to get myself some additional blood hosts, in case I need them. With the newfound strength from the Sword of Cain, we were able to take city after city after city, before turning my attention back to the challenge we had come here for. Now, something that I had not talked about yet are these boons that we can enable that cost us Khorne's favour per turn. These can be quite useful, with some of them given the ability to spawn blood hosts after completing a challenge, and a 20% chance of spawning one after any battle. With these boons activated, I was able to hunt down the Lord in question and won the battle with a decisive victory. Not too long after this, the Lord with the Nemesis crown revealed themselves. So, as is going to be customary, I sent in Arbaal to kill the entire army alone. We had made a lot of progress with Arbaal, dealing a lot of damage when our reinforcements came in, so some of the army chased them down, but in no time at all we inflicted army losses. So once we finished off this last unbreakable unit, who I turned into chaos spawns just despite, we had won the battle, obtaining the Nemesis crown for ourselves. The Nemesis crown, similarly to the Sword of Cain, adds a bunch of extra buffs like health, damage per second, weapon strength, and even extra skulls from kills, which is actually very nice. All of which you can scale even harder the more battles you fight. So it was time to put our nearly finished build to the test. And it did not disappoint. Arbaal was able to just sit in melee, taking on all the giants, lords, spiders the orcs could throw at him, all the while healing enough health to reach the healing cap. But with some more damage reduction still obtainable through the Sword of Cain leveling, this still was not my final form. In this fight, Arbaal was able to get 1,650 kills, dealing 200,000 damage. Fighting battle after battle, we were able to level up the crown, before taking out settlement after settlement. Moving through this orc faction's land, we were quickly coming up on one of the biggest tests for our campaign. Having fought my way southwest, I wanted to take out this last settlement before converging on the last blob of 6 20 stacks, all with Waaghs going, meaning 12 armies. Little did I know, just hidden by a shroud of darkness were 10 armies, each a 20 stack, all with a Waaghh going, meaning 20 more armies to fight. Luckily, Arbaal had the lightning strike ability, so I got to work. To begin, I tried to block the army with my hero, as I didn't want him for the battle, drawing the attention of some of the units away from Arbaal, but we lost him as it was a critical failure. Attacking the first army, enabling the lightning strike, we began. Now, in this fight, Arbaal basically took no damage, healing a ton while in combat and utilising the 3 key abilities to kill a lot of enemies, triggering army losses, winning this battle in no time at all. Reaping the captivities for some additional skulls, each of the armies that were reinforcing the army we had just defeated retreated away, so we hunted them down. This was when I decided to risk it all the progress, putting the Sword of Cain and the Nemesis crown at risk. Having Arbaal fight 4 stacks, all on his own. Spamming our 3 key abilities, the Sword of Cain, Fury of the Blood God, and the Nemesis crown active to eliminate all the units as they blobbed around Arbaal. And then using the overwhelming speed and weapon strength Arbaal has to kill the giants, lords, heroes, and spiders all over the map. After about 10 minutes, we had defeated the first 2 armies sent in to take us on, but with reinforcements constantly coming in now, and Arbaal having reached his healing cap, we would no longer be coming out of this battle on full health. As Arbaal continued to fight, with his health getting low, I began to worry. But after 27 minutes of fighting, army losses kicked in, and we had won the battle, with Arbaal getting 2,875 kills, and nearly dealing 500,000 damage. I hunted down the survivors of these armies, one by one, and we finally spawned in the first blood host, using the 20% chance boon I mentioned earlier. Fighting a couple of more battles, the Nemesis Crown increased in level, meaning we were now very close to maxing it out. And with plenty of targets still in front of us, I got to work, using lightning strikes to take out one unit at a time. Eventually, I was able to make my way up to the main city, manually fighting this battle using Arbaal to eliminate everyone and everything in its path, eventually leading us to win the battle, inflicting army losses and capturing the city. I rose the city, spawning in another blood host, and then I finished off the last few orc armies in the area one by one. All of these battles resulted in our Nemesis Crown leveling up. This newfound power would allow Arbaal to run right up to the next 11 armies I found in another city and beat them one by one too. After one turn of battles, we had spawned in 5 blood hosts and leveled the city. Over the end turn, all these blood hosts were attacked by the orcs, and we actually won quite a few of these battles. So during the next turn, moving Arbaal up, taking on army after army before setting our sights on one of the last settlements belonging to this orc faction. But with only 6 armies to beat, it was a walk in the park. Sending Arbaal up first, lightning striking and manually fighting the first battle we won it in no time at all, followed by the second army and the third army. For the fourth battle, I took on more than one army at a time, weakening the garrison of the city, making for an easy battle to raise it too. Raising this city actually gave us a ton of skulls that we would now use to spawn in even more armies. This faction, the Broken Axe, that we were taking on had only 2 more settlements at this point. So moving Arbaal towards the bigger city they still had, we were attacked over the end turn. Manually fighting and winning this battle, we chased the survivors over the end turn back into the city they came from, allowing us to win the battle and raise it, selecting skulls once again to replenish the quantity of skulls we had. With only 1 more settlement to take on, I moved all our blood hosts into position and was able to get an auto-resolve victory, raising a new blood host from the rubble. The Broken Axe faction no longer had any settlements or armies, meaning we had only 4 more orc factions to deal with. And the ability to teleport around the map in the challenges of Khorne made finding these factions very easy. Now, I know this may look like I'm outnumbered, but really, when you dig deep and keep calm and kill everything, not really. In one swift turn that probably took me 2 or 3, maybe even longer, 4 or 5 hours to complete, we had eliminated all of these armies, getting help from the lizard men for a single auto-resolve victory and raising the city. All of these fights I had to manually manage myself. At this point I had chased the last armies of the Bloody Hands faction from the last city they occupied, hunting them down. But in one last attempt to reclaim my home, they sieged the city, before dying over the end turn. With only 3 orc factions left, we found ourselves hunting down multiple of Grimgor's Ardboys armies, sending in Arbaal alone to take them on again, which at this point was a walk in the park for him. Winning these battles, we happened upon the remaining forces of the Ardboys, 9 armies all stacked around a single settlement. But having taken on worse odds already, you can guess how this went. Defeating this army and taking city after city, we ravaged Grimgor's weak boys, hunting them down throughout the land until they had only 1 more settlement and 1 more army, which we quickly eliminated, marching on their last settlement. Preparing for the attack, we actually had enough armies in place to be able to auto-resolve a victory. So I took the Pyrrhic victory, dedicating the destruction to the blood god and getting another blood host. With no more armies, and now that their last settlement was destroyed, we had successfully eliminated Grimgor's weak boys. In the meantime, I had been using blood hosts to wreak havoc on the Bone Rattlers and the Crooked Moon factions. So, with only a few settlements each left, I sent in Arbaal to fight the last settlement, sieges, getting an auto-resolve victory on the first, and then manually fighting the second one myself. Leading up to this battle, I'd been auto-resolving battles, meaning Arbaal had only 1/3 of his max health. This was the one chance for all orc kind. If Arbaal were to fall, he would become Arbaal the Defeated, and with 3000 HP, maybe, just maybe, they could do it. Maybe they could just take out Arbaal. Yeah, he's healing. Never mind, orcs, you're just doomed to extinction. Soon after the victory was claimed, allowing us to spawn in a fresh blood host. I thought that this was the last settlement the Crookfang had, but turned out they actually had one more up, way up north. But over the turn, our allies, the Chaos Dwarves, were able to finish the job for us. Setting our sights back on the Bone Rattlers, we had split the half of the remaining forces between this settlement that Arbaal was actively attacking and their last settlement. With this looking like a difficult battle with a 20 stack, a settlement garrison and 2 more smaller armies, I needed to manually fight the battle, and after a short fight we had a victory and spawned in another blood host. Interestingly, the Bone Rattlers opted to take the fight to us, attacking the freshly spawned blood host. But this was a mistake, as over the end turn, Arbaal just hunted them all down. Arbaal made quick work of them, hunting down any forces that had blobbed up, and eventually getting the win only for the unit to turn around and run away. So again, we hunted them down and eliminated all their forces just outside of the range of the last Bone Rattler settlement. With only 4 armies left, 1 Waaagh army and 1 settlement garrison, I decided to take on as many units as possible in one battle. My strategy in this fight? Hunt the spiders, then the giants, finally get them to blob around me. Once again, this tactic worked, but we actually sustained some serious damage in this fight, so I spawned in a blood host to help with these next battles, which over the end turn we were able to get the last auto-resolve victory needed, killing off the remaining Bone Rattlers' forces. Walking our blood host into the settlement, we were able to raze it as the garrison was eliminated, triggering the ultimate campaign victory.